Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone had a great week. I hope you had a safe and happy Independence Day weekend. All right, we're going to get straight to today's show. The title is Put Some Respect on My Name. And the topic is the importance of registering your work as an independent author with the U.S. Copyright Office, Library of Congress. Okay, I know that was very long, but still I had to get it all in there. Okay, so if you are an independent author, if you have poured your soul onto the page, you have created those stories that actually move hearts and stir minds, or it even challenges the status quo, then let's make one thing clear. You deserve recognition. You deserve protection and, most importantly of all, respect. Okay? And that starts with making sure that your work is officially registered with the Library of Congress. Okay? So what does it mean to register with the Library of Congress? Well, when you register your book with the U.S. Copyright Office, which is part of the Library of Congress, you're not just checking a box. What you're doing is you are making a powerful statement, okay? Because it's telling the world that this is your original work and that you own it, okay? Registration is the legal confirmation that you, as the creator, you hold all the rights to your intellectual property. You know, whether you wrote a novel, a poetry collection, a memoir, or even a children's book, your work is automatically protected by copyright the moment you write it, okay? And I know you've probably heard that before, that if you wrote it, it's yours. And that is 100% true. But registering is how you secure and enforce those rights, okay? It gives you a legal leg to stand on, okay? Or two legs to stand on. So why is registration so important? Well, first of all, as I mentioned, you get that legal protection, which equals peace of mind, okay? Yes, copyright protection is automatic, okay? Because you wrote it, again. But if someone infringes on your work, copies it, sells it, adapts it without permission, you can't do anything about that. You can't even sue for damages unless your work is registered, okay? That's right. No registration equals no legal standing, okay? And we don't want that to happen because, you have poured in blood, sweat, and tears on everything that you've done. And so you deserve that recognition, that legal standing that you wrote it is yours and no one can take that away from you. So now we want to talk about what you can do when your work has been registered. Okay, so with that registration, you can file a lawsuit if someone steals your work. Okay, and you can also be eligible for statutory damages and attorney fees. So you don't have to worry about having the money to hire an attorney, especially if you have the legal backing of the registration of your work on file, okay? Because that shows the world and the courts that you are the rightful owner, okay? All right, so the second thing it does is it puts your name officially on the record, okay? So when you register with the Library of Congress, your authorship becomes a matter of public record, okay? It's not just about protection at this point. It's also about legacy. So, just think of it as planting your creative flag, which gives you the right to say, put some respect on my name. That's right. Your name and your book are archived in the most prestigious library in the United States. And that makes sure that your work is part of the National Cultural Record. Now, that's history, okay? The third thing it does is it increases your professional credibility. All right. So, publishers, they aren't, they aren't just about having your work. Okay. So when it has been registered, it increases that professional credibility with all the publishers and the agents and the bookstores and the film producers and all those other industry professionals. What it does is it makes them sit back and take note when an author has gone that extra mile to protect their intellectual property. Okay. And so not only does it give you legal standing, but it also gives you that professional credibility that you know what you're doing, you know your legal rights. So that's why you've taken all of those precautions to make sure that none of them will be infringed upon. Okay. So, it tells that the all of those industries that you take your work seriously, that you understand the business side of writing, and that you are ready for all of the opportunities that require all of that professional documentation of your rights. Okay, you have that on file. Okay, you've already put all those things in place because you're serious about this. It's business for you. Not business as usual, but business because, your name is on it. Okay. And when your name is on it, you want to have that respect that goes along with that. So the fourth thing is that, you may not think of it this way, but when you register your work, it's a small investment, but it has a big return. Okay. The registration fee is usually modest. And I know nothing in this life is really free, but this is an investment that you should not have any issues with. And usually the fees are under $100 unless you are registering more than one creative work. Okay. And again, later on, I will have that link for you where you can go and get all the information that you need. Okay. Especially if you are wanting to register your work with the Library of Congress. And if you are especially considering this protection, what it does is it brings you that peace of mind. Okay. So, just think of it like insurance. Okay. We all have that. We have medical insurance. We have homeowners insurance. We have car insurance. What it does is when you have all of these coverages, it gives you hope. Okay. Especially that you may never need it, but if you have it, that means that that it is secure. And then you'll be glad that you have it, if someone tries to exploit your work. Okay. So that's another thing. All right. It's just another form of insurance that we all need. Okay. You hope you never have to use it, but you have it just in case. All right. So, independent doesn't mean unprotected. Okay. And I know that there is a lot of stigma that goes along with being an independent author. Okay. But still, if you go through the process of protecting your work, that initially protects you. Okay. So, don't sweat it with that heading of independent author. That independence means that you stand on business, that you know what you're doing, and it's telling the world that you are assured in what you do, that you are capable, and you are business minded. Okay, it means that you don't mind taking your business into your own hands. Okay, it means that you don't need other people to handle this for you when you can do it yourself. For me, that's what independence means. Okay. And as an indie author, you might wear many hats. And of course you do, because you are the writer, you are the editor, you are the marketer, you are the designer. But you don't skip the most important hat of all, and that is copyright owner. Okay. So you need to register your work, because it isn't just about defending your rights. It's also about claiming your place in this literary world. Okay. So, my final words on this is that you need that protection. Okay. You need to make sure that you have gone that extra mile to do everything that you need to do to protect your work. Okay. you need to make sure that you have that legal protection, because once again, legal protection equals peace of mind. You need to make sure that your name is officially on the record. Okay. So you need to make sure that you have registered all of your work with the Library of Congress. Okay. That is a must do. All right. Don't ever leave it for someone else to do it for you. You do it for yourself. Okay. Because you have all the documentation in hand that you need, and that's your work. And all you need is that final step, is to make sure that you have registered it with the Library of Congress. Okay. And then what it does by doing that is it increases your professional credibility. Okay. Because we all want to be considered credible. Okay. And not just some fly by night, whatever. You know, we want to show the world that we are assured in what we're doing, that we've taken all the necessary precautions, and that we are doing, crossing every T and dotting every I to make sure that we have legal standing when it comes to, our own investments. Because that small investment with the Library of Congress, that can stand to make you a big return, okay, in the end. Because again, independent does not mean unprotected, okay? Just because you're flying solo does not mean that you actually have to fly solo, okay? It means that, you may be in the pilot seat, but, you have all of these other things behind you that's giving you the assurity that you are covered, okay? Because respect is respect. Okay. And I don't care what anyone says, they may want to talk down about independent publishing, but independent publishing is on the rise. Okay. Because when you've done all the work, you want those profits, right? And all the time, it's not about the profits, but still you want to have a big investment on your return. So that means that you have to do everything that goes along with it. A few episodes we did on about making sure that that you know your rights as an independent author, that you have done everything that you need to do to make sure that that your work is standing out, that it is protected. Okay, that's why I do this show on a weekly basis, because I want to make sure that all that you can about publishing. Okay, and again, independent authors are on the rise, because traditional publishing is so hard to break into, especially if you don't have an agent. But what you have going for yourself is all of that hard work that you've put into writing that book. And so, all you need to do is take those extra steps to make sure that it gets into the hands of the readers. And that's by, independently publishing your work, but making sure that you have done everything that goes along with that before you put your work out there, because you want to protect yourself. Yes, you want the public to have your books. You want the readers to have those books in hand, but you also you want to make sure that you have protected yourself before you put your work out there. Okay, so now, honestly, this is my final words on it. You need to respect your work by registering it. Okay, because that is so important. Because again, you've put all of that time, all of those tears, and all of that talent into your work, and you don't want to leave it vulnerable. Okay, so let the world and the law know that your story is yours. So say it with me and say it loud and proud. Put some respect on my name. And as promised, here is the link to the U.S. Copyright Office. Okay, so it is https://www.copyright.gov/registration/. Okay, guys. And as I end every show, always remember to tell those who you care about the most how you feel about them today, because tomorrow is not promised, and today may be the only chance you get to say it. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. And until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple.
It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our